There are moments in life that split your world into before and after. Moments so profound that you can never go back to who you were before they happened. For me, that moment came at 3:47 a.m. on a Tuesday in June, when I was lying in a hospital bed, screaming through contractions, staring at an empty doorway where my husband should have been standing. The nurse kept asking if I wanted her to call him again. I kept saying yes, even though part of me already knew, part of me already understood that he wasn't coming, that he'd made a choice, and that choice wasn't me. What I didn't know yet was why. What I didn't know was that while I was bringing our daughter into the world alone, he was 20 miles away, holding another woman's hand, whispering promises to her that he'd broken to me, building a future with her while I was giving birth to his child. But here's what he didn't know. Sometimes betrayal doesn't break you. Sometimes it burns away everything that was holding you back and leaves behind something stronger, something he would never be able to touch again. This is the story of the worst night of my life and the beginning of my rebirth. This is the story of how I gave birth alone and learned I'd been alone in my marriage long before that night. Before we dive in, I need to know, where are you right now? Are you listening to this while rocking a baby? During your commute? Late at night when the house is finally quiet? Drop your location in the comments. And if you've ever felt abandoned when you needed someone most, if you've ever had to be strong when you wanted to fall apart, you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe button because this story is going to take you on a journey. And I promise you, by the end, you'll understand that sometimes the people who abandon us are doing us the biggest favor of our lives. Now, let me take you back to the beginning, back to when I still believed in us. My name is Stehphanie, and I met Daniel when I was 26. He was a pharmaceutical sales rep, charming and confident, the kind of man who could sell ice to someone in Alaska. I was a nurse at Chicago Presbyterian, working night shifts in the ER, exhausted but passionate about my work. He came in one night with a client who'd had a heart attack during a business dinner. While the doctors worked on his client, Daniel sat in the waiting room, pale and shaking. When I checked on him during my break, he looked up at me with these vulnerable eyes and said, "Is he going to die?" "We're doing everything we can," I said, the standard nurse response. "I should have seen it coming," he said. "He complained about chest pain during dinner. I thought it was indigestion. I almost didn't call 911. "But you did call," I pointed out. "That probably saved his life." His client survived, and Daniel came back the next day to thank the staff. He found me specifically, brought coffee for the whole ER, and asked if I'd have dinner with him when I wasn't working a double shift. I should have said no. I was focused on my career, on eventually becoming a nurse practitioner, on building a life that was stable and mine. I didn't have time for a relationship. But there was something about him, something that felt safe. He seemed solid, dependable, the kind of man who showed up when it mattered. I was so wrong about that last part. We dated for 2 years before he proposed. It was romantic, a sunset on Lake Michigan, a ring that cost more than he could afford, promises about building a future together. "I want everything with you," he said. "Marriage, kids, a house in the suburbs, the whole package. I want to grow old with you." I believed him. Why wouldn't I? He was attentive, affectionate, present. He came to my nursing school graduation when I got my BSN. He supported my decision to work toward my nurse practitioner license. He talked about my career like it mattered as much as his. We got married 6 months later. Small wedding, just family and close friends, because we were saving for a house. We moved to Evanston, a cute neighborhood with good schools for the kids we were planning to have. I got pregnant 14 months into our marriage. We'd been trying for 6 months, and when that positive test showed up, Daniel picked me up and spun me around the kitchen, laughing with pure joy. "We're having a baby," he kept saying. "We're actually having a baby." The first trimester was rough. Morning sickness that lasted all day, exhaustion so deep I could barely function. I cut back my hours at the hospital, and Daniel picked up extra shifts to compensate, or so he said. Looking back now, I can see the signs I missed. The late nights he claimed were work dinners with clients, the phone calls he'd take in another room, the way he'd pull away when I tried to be intimate, blaming stress and exhaustion. I was so focused on the pregnancy, on preparing for our daughter, that I didn't see what was happening right in front of me. By my third trimester, things between us had shifted in ways I couldn't quite name. Daniel was distant but not obviously wrong. He still came to doctor's appointments, most of them anyway. He still talked about the baby, helped set up the nursery, did all the things expectant fathers are supposed to do. But something was missing. Some essential connection had frayed, and I kept telling myself it was normal. Pregnancy changes things. We'd reconnect after the baby came. Everything would be okay once our daughter was here. I was in denial, deep denial. My due date was June 15th. On June 14th, I started having contractions. Braxton Hicks's, the doctor said. False labor. Rest and hydrate. So I did, and the contractions stopped. On June 15th, they started again, stronger this time, regular, 5 minutes apart, then 4, then 3. "It's time," I told Daniel. He was watching TV and he barely looked up. "Are you sure?" he asked. "Didn't the doctor say false labor was common?" "Daniel, my water just broke. We need to go to the hospital, now." That got his attention. He jumped up, grabbed the hospital bag we'd packed weeks ago, helped me to the car. During the drive, he was quiet, too quiet. "Are you okay?" I asked between contractions. "Yeah, just nervous. This is really happening." "We're going to be parents," I said, trying to sound excited even though the pain was getting intense. "Yeah," he said, "we are." Something in his tone made my skin prickle, but another contraction hit, and I forgot about everything except breathing through the pain. We got to the hospital at 11:37. The nurses checked me in, confirmed I was in active labor, settled me into a delivery room. Daniel stood by the window, looking at his phone. "Can you call my mom?" I asked. "Let her know we're here." "Yeah, sure." He stepped into the hallway. He was gone for 20 minutes. When he came back, I was in the middle of a bad contraction, gripping the bed rails and trying to remember my breathing exercises. "Did you call her?" I gasped when the contraction passed. "She's on her way," he said, but he wouldn't meet my eyes. "Daniel, what's wrong?" "Nothing, I'll be right back. I need some air." He left again, and that's when the real labor started. The kind that makes you understand why they call it labor, the kind that takes everything you have. And I was alone. Are you still with me? Because this is where the story gets hard. This is where I learned what I was really made of. The contractions came faster and harder. My nurse, a woman named Beverly, who'd been doing this for 30 years, checked my progress and frowned. "You're at 7 centimeters, she said. "Moving fast. Where's your husband?" "He went to get some air. He'll be back." Beverly gave me a look that said she'd heard that before and knew how it usually ended, but she didn't comment, just adjusted my monitors and held my hand through the next contraction. "You're doing great, honey," she said. "Just breathe. That's it. Nice and steady." When the contraction passed, I asked, "Can you check if he's in the waiting room?" She checked. He wasn't. "Maybe he went to get coffee," Beverly suggested. "First-time dads get nervous. Sometimes they need a minute." I tried calling his phone. It rang and rang. No answer. 8 centimeters, 9. The pain was beyond anything I'd imagined, and I was staring at that empty doorway, willing him to walk through it. "Call him again," I begged Beverly. She did, still no answer. My mother arrived at 1:15 a.m., breathless and worried. "Where's Daniel?" "I don't know," I sobbed. "He left and he won't answer his phone." "That son of a—" My mother caught herself, squeezed my hand. Okay, I'm here. You're not alone." But I was alone, because the person who was supposed to be there, the person who'd promised to be there through everything, had disappeared. At 2:30 a.m., I was fully dilated and ready to push. "Last chance to reach him," said Beverly gently. "Do you want me to try his phone one more time?" "Yes," I whispered, even though I knew it was pointless. Beverly stepped into the hall. I heard her voice calm and professional. "Mr. Reeves, this is Beverly Thompson. I'm a nurse at Chicago Presbyterian. Your wife is about to deliver your baby, and we really need you here. Hello? Hello?" She came back in, her expression carefully neutral. "He answered, said he's on his way." Relief flooded through me. He was coming. He'd answer. He'd be here for the birth. But he wasn't. At 2:47 a.m., I started pushing. My mother held one hand, Beverly held the other. The doctor I'd never met before because my regular OB was on vacation coached me through it. "You're doing beautiful, Stehphanie. One more big push. Come on, you can do this." And I did it without the man who was supposed to be beside me, without the father of my baby holding my hand and telling me I was strong. At 3:47 a.m., my daughter was born. She came out screaming, red and wrinkled and absolutely perfect. The doctor placed her on my chest and I sobbed, partly from relief, partly from joy, partly from the devastating loneliness of experiencing the most profound moment of my life without my husband. "She's beautiful," my mother whispered, crying too. "Oh, baby, she's so beautiful." 7 pounds 4 ounces, the nurse announced, 20 inches long, 10 fingers, 10 toes, perfect. I held my daughter against my chest, felt her tiny heart beating against mine, and whispered, "Hi, baby girl. Hi, I'm your mama. I've got you. I've got you." And in that moment, I made her a promise. She would never feel abandoned the way I felt right now. She would always know she was loved. She would always come first, even if her father couldn't make the same promise. They cleaned her up, weighed her, did all the things they do with newborns while I delivered the placenta and got stitched up. Then they brought her back to me, swaddled and sleepy, perfect in every way. "Have you chosen a name?" Beverly asked. Daniel and I had picked out names months ago, Lily Rose if it was a girl. But sitting there, holding my daughter alone, I realized I didn't want to give her the name we'd chosen together. I wanted to give her a name that was mine. "Maya," I said. "Her name is Maya." "That's beautiful," Beverly asked. "Does it have a special meaning?" "It means illusion," I said quietly, "because I think I've been living in one." Beverly squeezed my shoulder but didn't say anything. My mother stepped out to call family members, give them the news. I sat there with Maya in my arms, exhausted and wrecked, and trying to process what had just happened. Where was Daniel? Why hadn't he come? At 5:15 a.m., he finally walked through the door. He looked terrible, disheveled, his shirt wrinkled, his hair a mess, and when he saw me holding Maya, he stopped dead in the doorway, his face going pale. "I'm sorry," he said. "I'm so sorry. I got here as fast as I could." "Where were you?" My voice was flat, emotionless. I was too tired for anger yet. He hesitated. "I was In the parking lot. I think I had a panic attack or something. I couldn't breathe and I just needed some air. It was a lie. I knew it was a lie before he finished speaking. You can tell when someone you love is lying to you. Something in their eyes doesn't match their words. For 5 hours? I said quietly. You needed air for 5 hours while I gave birth to your daughter? I know it's inexcusable. I panicked. First-time dad jitters or something. He gestured to Maya. Can I hold her? Every instinct in my body screamed no, but she was her daughter too, regardless of what he'd done, so I nodded. He came closer, and that's when I smelled it. Perfume, not mine, something floral and expensive and wrong. My blood turned to ice. Where were you, Daniel? I asked again, my voice harder now. I told you, you're lying. I can smell perfume on you, women's perfume, so I'll ask one more time, where were you? He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Stehphanie, I can explain. Explain what? That while I was screaming in labor, while I was pushing our daughter into the world, you were with someone else? It's not what you think. Then what is it? I'm shaking now, adrenaline and fury overriding the exhaustion. Tell me the truth right now or get out of this room and don't come back. He stood there, holding our hours-old daughter, and I watched him decide. I watched him weigh his options, calculate his response. And that's when I knew for certain whatever he was about to say would be a lie. I was with a friend, he said finally, someone from work. She's going through a hard time and she called me tonight, really upset. I went to meet her for coffee, to talk her through it. I lost track of time. I'm sorry. I should have told you where I was going. A friend, I repeated, the word tasting bitter. You left your wife in labor to comfort a friend. I didn't think you'd deliver so fast. First babies usually take longer. I thought I had time. Get out. Stehphanie, get out of this room right now before I start screaming. He looked at my mother, who was standing in the corner with an expression that could cut glass. You heard her, my mother said coldly. Leave. Daniel handed Maya back to me carefully, as if I might drop her. Then he backed up toward the door. We'll talk when you've calmed down, when you're more rational. I'm perfectly rational. I just gave birth alone because my husband abandoned me. I think rational is exactly what I am. He left, and I held Maya close and cried tears I didn't know I had left. But the story wasn't over, because Beverly, my angel of a nurse, had noticed something, and what she was about to show me would change everything. Beverly came back into the room about 20 minutes after Daniel left. She closed the door behind her and pulled up a chair next to my bed. "How are you feeling, honey?" she asked. Like my husband just lied to my face after missing the birth of our child. She nodded slowly. I want to show you something, but I need you to know I'm breaking about a dozen hospital rules right now, and if you tell anyone where you got this information, I could lose my job. My heart started pounding. Okay. Beverly pulled out her phone. When your husband answered his phone earlier, the time I called from the hallway, I could hear a woman's voice in the background, loud and clear. She was crying, saying something about how she couldn't believe this was happening. Maybe it was his friend, I said, even though I didn't believe it. Maybe, Beverly agreed. But here's the thing. About 30 minutes ago, I was at the nurse's station when your husband got off the elevator. He didn't see me. He was on his phone, texting someone. And Stehphanie, he left his phone on the counter when he went to the bathroom. It was unlocked, and I saw a message come through. She showed me her phone. She'd taken a photo of the screen. The message was from someone saved in Daniel's phone as Natalie Hart. I know this is hard, but you had to go. You couldn't miss your daughter's birth. We'll figure this out. I love you. Come back when you can." I stared at the screen, read it again and again. "There are more," Beverly said gently. "I took screenshots of the whole conversation from tonight. Do you want to see them?" Did I want to see them? No. I wanted to unsee that first message. I wanted to go back to 5 minutes ago when I was heartbroken but not destroyed. But I needed to know. I needed to see the truth. "Yes," I whispered. Beverly swiped through the photos. Each one was worse than the last. Messages from earlier that evening. "Daniel, she's in labor. I have to go to the hospital." "No, please don't leave. Not tonight. We just talked about this." "I have to. She's my wife. She's having my baby." "And what am I? Just some woman you've been sleeping with for 6 months? Some secret you keep?" 6 months. He'd been cheating on me for 6 months, since I was 3 months pregnant. I kept reading. "You're not just some woman. You know that. I love you. But this is complicated." "Then uncomplicated. Choose me. Tell her the truth. We can't keep doing this." "After the baby comes, I promise. We'll figure everything out after the baby comes. Just give me a few more weeks." "You've been saying that for months. I'm tired of being the other woman. I'm tired of pretending you're mine when you're really hers." The messages went on. Daniel had spent hours texting this woman, promising her he'd leave me, promising her a future while I was in the hospital giving birth to his child. And then, the most damaging one. "I'm at the hospital. She had the baby. A girl. How do you feel?" Honestly, trapped. I love Maya, but I don't love Stehphanie anymore. I haven't for a long time. I don't know how to do this. "Just come back here. We'll figure it out together. I love you." "I love you too. Give me an hour to play the dutiful husband. Then I'll come back." I handed the phone back to Beverly, too numb to cry. "I'm so sorry," Beverly said. "I know this is the last thing you need right now, but I thought you deserved to know the truth so you could make decisions based on reality, not lies." "Thank you," I managed. Can you send me those screenshots?" "Already done. I texted them to your phone." "You got my number from my chart?" "Like I said, I'm breaking a lot of rules today." Beverly squeezed my hand. But some rules deserve to be broken, especially when a woman needs to protect herself. After Beverly left, I sat there holding Maya, staring at nothing. 6 months. He'd been living a double life for 6 months, making love to me while telling another woman he loved her, helping me prepare for our daughter while promising someone else a future that didn't include us. And he missed Maya's birth because he was with his mistress, not in a panic attack in the parking lot, not comforting a friend, with his mistress, telling her he was trapped in a marriage he didn't want anymore. My mother came back with coffee and took one look at my face. What happened? What else did he do? I told her everything, showed her the screenshots, watched her face go from concerned to furious. "That bastard," she hissed. "That absolute bastard! While you were—" She couldn't even finish the sentence. "I need you to do me a favor," I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. "Anything. Take Maya. Hold her while I make some calls. Who are you calling? A lawyer, and then my bank, and then a locksmith. My mother's eyes widened. You're sure? You just gave birth. You need to rest, not... I need to protect my daughter, I interrupted. And I need to make sure that when Daniel realizes I know the truth, he can't take anything else from me. What about trying to work things out? Counseling? I looked down at Maya, sleeping peacefully in her bassinet. She had no idea her father had betrayed her before she took her first breath. She had no idea the man who was supposed to protect her had chosen another woman over being there for her birth. You don't come back from this, I said quietly. You don't work things out after something like this. This isn't a mistake or a moment of weakness. This is 6 months of deliberate choices. 6 months of lying to my face while I was carrying her child. 6 months of building a future with someone else while I was building a nursery for our daughter. I looked at my mother. He missed Maya's birth because he was with his mistress. He held her hand instead of mine. He whispered love to her while I screamed in labor. And then he came here and lied to my face about where he'd been. My voice broke. You don't forgive that. You survive it, and you make damn sure it never happens again. My mother nodded slowly. Okay, baby. What do you need me to do? First, hold your granddaughter, then hand me my phone. She did. And while she rocked Maya and sang softly to her, I started making the calls that would end my marriage and save my life. Because sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes trust, once broken, can't be repaired. And sometimes the best thing you can do for your child is show her that you don't accept betrayal, that you don't teach her it's okay for men to lie to her by staying with one who lied to you. I was about to teach my daughter her first lesson, that her mother was strong enough to walk away from anything that didn't serve us, even if walking away meant burning everything down and starting. The lawyer's name was Sandra Martinez, and she specialized in family law. My mother had used her firm for her own divorce 15 years earlier and said Sandra was ruthless in the best possible way. I called her office at 7 a.m. from my hospital bed. Miss Martinez doesn't typically take calls this early, her assistant said. Tell her it's an emergency. Tell her a woman just gave birth alone because her husband was with his mistress. Tell her I have proof and I need to act fast. 5 minutes later, Sandra called me directly. Tell me everything, she said. So I did. The whole story. The labor, the abandonment, the messages, everything. And you have screenshots? Sandra asked. Yes, sent to my phone by a nurse who's my guardian angel. Good. Don't delete them. In fact, email them to me right now, along with any other evidence you have. Bank statements showing unexplained purchases, credit card bills, anything. I don't have access to those. He handles all our finances. Then we'll subpoena them. But here's what you need to do right now. Do not confront him about the affair. Act like you're upset about him missing the birth, but don't reveal that you know the real reason. Let him think you believe his story. Why? Because the element of surprise is our biggest advantage. Right now, he thinks he got away with it. He'll be relieved, maybe even cocky. And cocky men make mistakes. They get sloppy with their phones, their finances, their alibis. We want him sloppy. I don't know if I can pretend. You can, Sandra said firmly, because you're a mother now, and mothers do impossible things to protect their children. You're going to smile and let him think everything is fine while we build a case so airtight he won't have a choice but to give you everything you ask for. What do I ask for? Full custody of your daughter, the house, child support, alimony if you're entitled to it, and every single asset he has that's legally considered marital property. He wants to play games, we'll make sure those games cost him everything. I want the divorce to happen fast, I said. I don't want Maya growing up in a house with him with all that pretense. We'll make it as fast as possible, Sandra promised, but you need to be smart. Follow my instructions exactly. Can you do that? Yes. Good. I'll draw up initial paperwork today. In the meantime, act normal. Let him come back to the hospital. Let him hold Maya. Let him play doting father and document everything. Every time he leaves the room, every phone call, every moment he chooses his phone over his daughter. All of it builds our case. When Daniel came back to the hospital that afternoon, I was ready. He brought flowers, grocery store flowers, nothing special, and a stuffed teddy bear that still had the clearance sticker on it. "Hey," he said cautiously, "how are you feeling?" "Tired, sore, but okay." I kept my voice neutral, not warm, but not hostile. "Can I hold her?" I nodded. He picked up Maya carefully, awkwardly. He'd never been around babies much, didn't have younger siblings, wasn't the type to coo over friends' kids. Looking at him hold our daughter, I realized he had no idea what to do with her. "She's so small," he said. 7 pounds is actually pretty average." "Right, yeah." He rocked her stiffly, like he was afraid she'd break. "Have you decided on a name? I know we talked about Lily, but her name is Maya." "Maya?" He looked surprised. "We didn't discuss that." "You weren't here to discuss it, so I chose." He flinched. "Stehphanie, about that, I really am sorry. I know I screwed up. You had a panic attack. I get it. First-time dad jitters." I repeated his lie back to him, watched his face relax with relief. "Exactly. It was overwhelming, but I'm here now. I want to be here, for both of you." Liar, I thought, but I smiled. "I appreciate that." He stayed for an hour, holding Maya awkwardly, checking his phone constantly. Every time it buzzed, I memorized the time. Sandra had told me to keep track. At 3:45, his phone rang. I saw his expression change. "I need to take this," he said, handing Maya back to me. "Work thing." He stepped into the hallway. I could hear his voice, low and intimate, not the way you talk to a work colleague. When he came back, he said, "I have to go. Emergency at work. Client crisis." "On a Wednesday afternoon?" "Pharmaceutical sales never sleeps," he said with a strained smile. "I'll be back later tonight." He wasn't back that night, or the next morning. He texted excuses. The client crisis was taking longer than expected. He'd be back as soon as he could. He loved us. More lies. I was discharged from the hospital on Thursday evening. My mother picked me up, drove us home to the house I'd shared with Daniel. "Do you want me to stay?" she asked. "I can sleep in the guest room, help with the baby." "Please," I said. "I don't want to be alone with him yet." Daniel came home at 10 p.m., looking exhausted. He barely glanced at Maya sleeping in her bassinet before heading to the bedroom. "Long day?" I called after him. "You have no idea," he said. I did, actually, because I'd been tracking his location. I knew he hadn't been at work. He'd been at an apartment in Lincoln Park, Natalie's apartment, according to the lease agreement Sandra's investigator had already pulled. But I didn't say anything, just smiled and played my role. Over the next week, Daniel was barely home. Always work emergencies, always late meetings, always some excuse. And every time he left, I documented it. took photos of the time, made notes, kept a journal of his absence. Sandra's investigator followed him 3 times, got photos of him entering Natalie's building, staying for hours, leaving in the morning wearing the same clothes from the night before. He's not even trying to hide it, Sandra told me during one of our calls. He's either incredibly stupid or incredibly arrogant. Either way, it works in our favor. When do we file? I asked. Soon. I want to make sure we have everything we need first. How are you holding up? I'm functioning, taking care of Maya, pretending everything is normal, but I'm angry all the time. I can barely look at him without wanting to scream. Channel that anger into determination, Sandra advised. Save the screaming after we file. Then you can tell him exactly what you think of him. 2 weeks after Maya was born, Daniel came home with a guilty expression and an announcement. I need to talk to you about something, he said. Here it comes, I thought. He's going to confess or maybe ask for a divorce. What is it? I asked, keeping my voice mild. I think I need some space to figure things out. Being a father is harder than I expected, and I'm feeling overwhelmed. Space, I repeated. Just for a few weeks. I could stay with my brother, give you some room to bond with Maya without me in the way. You want to leave 2 weeks after your daughter was born? Not permanently, he quickly said, just temporarily, to clear my head. I stared at him. He wasn't even good at lying anymore. He just wanted permission to move in with Natalie without the hassle of hiding it. Okay, I said. He blinked, surprised. Okay. If you need space, take it. I'll manage with Maya on my own. I've been doing it anyway. Stehphanie. No, really. Go. Figure yourself out. Take all the time you need. Relief washed over him. Thank you. Thank you for understanding. I'll still help with expenses, and I'll visit Maya. Sure, whatever you need. He packed a bag that night, left without even saying goodbye to his 2-week-old daughter. And the next morning, I called Sandra. He's gone, I said. He moved out. Is that bad for the case? Bad? Sandra laughed. It's perfect. He abandoned his infant daughter, left his postpartum wife alone. All documented, all time-stamped. Stehphanie, we have everything we need. I'm filing for divorce today. Today? Today. And when he gets served at his mistress's apartment, because that's where the process server is going, he's going to realize he underestimated you completely. I smiled for the first time in 2 weeks. Good, let him realize it. Let him understand that while he was busy playing house with someone else, I was protecting my daughter's future. That's my client, Sandra proudly said. Now let's go make him regret every choice. Daniel was served with divorce papers on a Thursday morning at 7:45 a.m. The process server knocked on Natalie's door, and according to the report Sandra received, Daniel answered in his boxers with a coffee mug in his hand. He called me 13 times in the first hour. I didn't answer. By 9 a.m., he was at my door, pounding on it so hard Maya woke up crying. I took my time answering, fed Maya first, changed her diaper, settled her back down, let him knock and shout and work himself into a frenzy. When I finally opened the door, he looked wild. What the hell is this? He waved the divorce papers. You're divorcing me without even discussing it? The same way you had an affair without discussing it? I asked calmly. Seems fair to me. His face went pale. I don't know what you're talking about. Save it, Daniel. I know about Natalie. I've known since the night Maya was born. I have the text messages, the photos, the timeline of every lie you've told me for the last 6 months. So please don't insult my intelligence by pretending you don't know what I'm talking about. He opened his mouth, closed it. Stehphanie, I can explain. I don't want your explanations. I want a divorce. I want full custody of Maya. I want the house, and I want you to sign these papers quickly and quietly, because if you don't, I will make this so public and so ugly that everyone you know will understand exactly what kind of man you are. You can't do this. I already did. You're served. The clock is ticking. My lawyer will be in touch about the details. I started to close the door. He stuck his foot in the jamb. Let me see my daughter, he demanded. She's sleeping, and you don't get to make demands. You abandoned her when she was 2 weeks old. You told your mistress you felt trapped by her. You missed her birth because you were with another woman. You have no moral authority here, Daniel. None. She's my daughter. Biologically, yes, but that's about it. You've barely held her. You don't know her feeding schedule, her sleep patterns, what makes her cry, or how to soothe her. You're a DNA contributor, not a father. That's not fair. Fair? I laughed, and it was bitter. You want to talk about fair? I gave birth alone while you were with your mistress. I've spent 2 weeks taking care of our daughter by myself while you played house with someone else. I've gotten up every 2 hours to feed her, changed every diaper, soothed every cry, all alone. And you want to talk to me about fair? I made a mistake. You made a choice, I corrected. Many choices, and now I'm making mine. Sign the papers, give me what I'm asking for, and maybe you'll get supervised visitation with Maya when she's older. Supervised? His voice rose. I'm her father. Then act like it, I shouted back, and Maya started crying. See, you're here for 5 minutes and you've already upset her. Come back when you're ready to put her first. Until then, stay away. I shut the door in his face, locked it, stood there shaking while he pounded on it a few more times, shouting threats about lawyers and custody battles and how I couldn't keep his daughter from him. Eventually, he left. I picked up Maya, held her close, and whispered, "It's okay, baby girl. Mama's got you. Nobody's going to hurt you. I promise." Over the next week, Daniel hired a lawyer, an expensive one, according to Sandra, who recognized the firm. They're going to fight for 50-50 custody, maybe even primary custody. They'll paint you as vindictive and unstable, postpartum depression, emotional manipulation, alienation of affection. They'll throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. But I have proof of his affair, which helps, but isn't automatically disqualifying in custody cases. Illinois is a no-fault divorce state. His infidelity doesn't necessarily affect his parental rights. So he could win? He could, but here's what they don't have: evidence of him being present for his daughter. We have documentation of every time he chose not to be there, every late night, every missed feeding, every moment he prioritized his affair over his infant daughter. That matters more than the affair itself. What do? We build our case. We show that you've been the primary caregiver since birth, that you're stable, capable, and focused on Maya's well-being, and we wait for him to make mistakes. What kind of mistakes? Sandra smiled. Trust me, he'll make them. Men like Daniel always do. She was right. The first mistake came during the temporary custody hearing. Daniel showed up 15 minutes late in a wrinkled suit, clearly unprepared. His lawyer looked furious. The judge asked him basic questions about Maya. What was her feeding schedule? What brand of formula did she use? She was breastfed, but he didn't know that. What was her pediatrician's name? What were her sleep patterns? Daniel couldn't answer any of them. "Mr. Reeves," the judge said dryly, "your daughter is 4 weeks old. You should know these things." "I've been giving my wife space," Daniel said. "She said she needed to bond with the baby without me around." "Is that accurate, Ms. Reeves?" No, Your Honor, I said calmly. My husband asked for space 2 weeks after Maya was born. He said he was overwhelmed by fatherhood. I agreed to his request. Since then, he's made no effort to be involved in her care. He hasn't asked about her schedule or her needs. He hasn't offered to help with feedings or diaper changes or doctor's appointments. He simply left. And where have you been staying, Mr. Reeves? Daniel hesitated. His lawyer whispered something to him. With a friend. What friend? Natalie Ward. Ms. Ward is the woman you were having an affair with, correct? The woman you were with when your wife went into labor? Daniel's face flushed. Yes, but... So you abandoned your newborn daughter to move in with your mistress, and now you want shared custody? The judge's tone was incredulous. I didn't abandon her. I was giving my wife space that she didn't ask for. Mr. Reeves, I'm granting temporary full custody to Ms. Reeves. You'll have supervised visitation every other Saturday for 2 hours. If you demonstrate consistent involvement and capability, we can revisit the arrangement in 3 months. Your Honor, that's my ruling, the judge said firmly. Next case. Walking out of the courthouse, Sandra squeezed my shoulder. That, she said, is what we call a good day. He's going to hate me, I said. Good, let him. You're not here to be liked. You're here to protect your daughter, and right now, that means keeping her away from a man who's proven he can't be trusted. I nodded, holding Maya's car seat close. So what happens next? Next, we go for the permanent custody hearing, and we make sure every choice he's made, every lie he's told, every moment he chose himself over his daughter becomes part of the official record. How long will that take? A few months, but in the meantime, you document everything, every missed visitation, every late child support payment, every moment he proves he's not capable of being the father Maya deserves. I looked down at Maya, sleeping peacefully despite the chaos of her parents' divorce. She deserves so much better than him, I whispered. Then make sure that's what she gets, Sandra said. That's your job now, not to punish him, but to protect her. Keep that as your focus, and we'll win this. And I intended to do exactly. Daniel showed up for his first supervised visitation on a Saturday morning. The supervisor was a woman named Grace, who'd been doing this work for 20 years and had seen it all. I handed Maya over, gave Daniel her diaper bag with bottles, diapers, wipes, everything he'd need. She ate an hour ago, I told him. She'll probably want another bottle around 11. There are 3 in the bag, already prepared. She likes to be held upright for at least 10 minutes after eating or she spits up. And if she gets fussy, try the pacifier in the side pocket. Daniel took Maya like she was a bomb that might explode. Okay, got it. You'll be fine, Grace said kindly. It's just 2 hours. We'll call if there are any issues. I left, but I couldn't go far. I sat in my car in the parking lot, anxious and guilty and angry all at once. Guilty for leaving Maya with a man who'd proven he couldn't be trusted. Angry that I had to leave her at all. Anxious about what might happen. Grace called after 45 minutes. Everything okay? I asked immediately. Everything's fine, Grace said, but Mr. Reeves is struggling a bit. Maya's crying and he can't get her to stop. Would you mind walking me through your soothing technique? I talked Grace through it, the specific way to hold Maya against your shoulder, the rhythm of the bounce, the humming sound that calmed her down. Got it, Grace said. Thank you. We'll see you in an hour. When I picked Maya up, Daniel looked exhausted. She cried the whole time, he said. I tried everything. Did you try holding her the way I described? I tried. She just doesn't like me. She's 2 months old, I said. She doesn't have preferences yet. She has needs, and you need to learn how to meet them. How am I supposed to learn if I only get 2 hours every other week? You could have learned in the 2 weeks after she was born, I said pointedly, but you chose to leave instead. He flinched. Over the next 3 months, the pattern repeated. Daniel would show up for his supervised visits. Maya would cry. He'd struggle to comfort her, to feed her, to change her. He'd spend most of the 2 hours looking overwhelmed and asking Grace for help. "He's trying," Grace told me after the 6th visit, "but he's just not natural with her. Some parents aren't. It doesn't make him a bad person. It makes him an absent father, which is worse than being a bad person, because at least bad people show up." The permanent custody hearing was scheduled for October. By then, Maya was 4 months old, starting to smile and giggle, becoming a real little person. Sandra had built our case meticulously. We had documentation of every missed or late visit, records showing I'd been the sole caregiver since birth, text messages between Daniel and Natalie where he complained about having to waste his Saturdays on supervised visits, testimony from Grace about his lack of basic parenting skills, bank records showing he'd made minimal financial contributions to Maya's care. Most damning, a recording from one of the supervised visits where Daniel told Grace, "I love my daughter, but I'm not cut out for this. I thought I wanted to be a father, but it's so much harder than I imagined." That last one, Sandra said with satisfaction, is gold. He literally admitted he's not cut out to be a father in front of a court-appointed supervisor. "What do you think the judge will decide?" I asked. "I think you're going to get full custody with minimal visitation," Sandra said. "He's proven he can't handle even 2 hours every other week. Why would the judge give him more?" She was right. At the hearing, Daniel's lawyer tried to paint him as a devoted father who'd been unfairly shut out of his daughter's life, but when the judge reviewed the evidence, his face hardened. "Mr. Reeves, you've had 6 months to demonstrate your commitment to your daughter. In that time, you've missed 3 scheduled visitations, shown up late to 4 others, and by your own admission told the court supervisor that you're not cut out for fatherhood. Is that correct?" "I was overwhelmed that day," Daniel started. "I'm not interested in your excuses. I'm interested in your actions, and your actions show a pattern of minimal effort and maximum avoidance." The judge looked at me. "Ms. Reeves, you've been the sole provider of care for this child since birth. You've maintained stable housing, stable employment, and by all accounts, you're an excellent mother. Is there any reason I should order shared custody in this case?" "No, Your Honor. My only concern is Maya's well-being. If her father wants to be involved in her life, I support that, but he needs to prove he's capable of putting her needs first. So far, he hasn't done that." "I agree," the judge said. She looked down at her paperwork, made some notes, and then delivered her ruling. "Full physical and legal custody to Stehphanie Reeves. Daniel Reeves will have supervised visitation 1 Saturday per month for 2 hours with the possibility of increased visitation if he completes a parenting class and demonstrates consistent involvement for at least 6 months. He will pay child support in the amount of," she named a figure that made Daniel's lawyer wince, "per month starting immediately." Daniel stood up. "Your Honor, that's not fair. She's turning my daughter against me." "Your daughter is 4 months old," the judge said dryly. "She can't be turned against anyone. You did that yourself by abandoning her when she was 2 weeks old. This court values the best interest of the child, Mr. Reeves, and right now her best interest is to be with the parent who's actually been parenting her." She banged her gavel. "We're done here." Walking out of the courthouse, I felt like I could finally breathe. "You did it, Sandra," Sandra said, grinning. "Full custody, minimal visitation, solid child support. Stehphanie, this is a huge win." "I don't feel like winning," I said, looking down at Maya and her carrier. "I feel like survival." "Sometimes survival is winning," Sandra said gently. "You protected your daughter, you stood up for yourself, you refused to let him get away with his betrayal. That's more than winning, that's revolution." I smiled in spite of myself. "I like that. Revolution." "So what's next for you?" Sandra asked, now that the custody battle is over. Now I looked at Maya, at her perfect little face, at the life I was building for us. Now we figure out what comes after. Now we heal. But healing, I was about to learn, was harder than fighting, and the journey to rebuild myself was going to be the hardest battle. The first year after the divorce was finalized was the loneliest year of my life. I had Maya, of course, and she was everything, my reason for getting up in the morning, my purpose, my joy. But being a single mother to an infant is isolating in ways I hadn't anticipated. My friends, the few who'd stuck around through the divorce, were either single and couldn't relate to my new life, or married with their own families and too busy to include us. I didn't fit anywhere anymore. I went back to work when Maya was 6 months old. I'd been on unpaid leave since her birth, burning through my savings, and I couldn't afford to stay home any longer. My mother helped with childcare, bless her. She'd retired early from teaching specifically so she could be there for Maya. But even with her help, balancing work and motherhood and the aftermath of betrayal was crushing. I'd come home exhausted, feed Maya, give her a bath, rock her to sleep, and then I'd sit in the living room of the house that was now mine alone, surrounded by silence, and cry. I cried for the marriage I thought I had, for the partner I thought Daniel was, for the naive version of myself who'd believed love was enough. Mostly I cried from sheer exhaustion, physical exhaustion from the demands of an infant, emotional exhaustion from processing the betrayal, spiritual exhaustion from trying to figure out who I was outside of being someone's wife. "You need therapy," my mother said one evening when she found me crying in the kitchen. "Baby, you're drowning. You need help." "I don't have time for therapy." "Make time," she said firmly. "Maya needs a mother who's healing, not one who's barely holding on." So I found a therapist, Dr. Simmons, a woman in her 50s who specialized in trauma and postpartum mental health. "Tell me what you're feeling," Dr. Simmons said in our first session. "Angry," I said, all the time, at Daniel for what he did, at myself for not seeing it sooner, at the world for being so unfair. "What else?" "Scared. What if I can't do this alone? What if I mess Maya up? What if the damage Daniel caused ripples out and affects her?" And underneath the anger and fear, I paused, thought about it. "Grief," I finally said. "I'm grieving the life I thought I was going to have." Dr. Simmons nodded. "That's normal. Expected even. Your life changed dramatically in a very short time. You gave birth, discovered your husband's betrayal, became a single mother, fought a custody battle, all in less than a year. You haven't had time to process any of it." "I don't have time now either. I have to work, take care of Maya, keep the house running." "You have to heal," Dr. Simmons interrupted gently, "because if you don't, that anger and fear and grief will poison everything. It'll affect your work, your parenting, your future relationships. You can't outrun trauma. You have to walk through it." So I started walking through it. Therapy twice a week, journaling every night after Maya went to bed, long talks with my mother about forgiveness and letting go and choosing peace over anger. It was hard, the hardest work I'd ever done. But slowly, gradually, I started to feel lighter, started to smile more, started to imagine a future that wasn't defined by what Daniel had done to me. Maya turned 1, and I threw her a small party, just family and a few close friends, but it felt like a celebration of more than her first year of life. It felt like a celebration of survival. "Look at her," my mother said, watching Maya smash her birthday cake with pure joy. "Look at how happy she is. You did that. You gave her a stable, loving home despite everything." "We did that," I corrected. "I couldn't have done this without you." "Maybe not," my mother agreed, "but you're stronger than you know, baby. You always have been." I went back to school when Maya was 18 months old. I'd been thinking about it for months, getting my nurse practitioner license, advancing my career, building something that was mine. "Are you sure?" my mother asked. "That's a lot on top of everything else." "I'm sure," I said. "I've spent the last 2 years in survival mode. Now I want to build. I want Maya to see her mother as someone who doesn't just survive, she thrives." So I enrolled in a nurse practitioner program, online classes in the evenings after Maya went to bed, clinical rotations on my days off. It was exhausting, but it was also exhilarating. I was becoming someone again, not just Maya's mother or Daniel's ex-wife, Stehphanie, competent, ambitious, capable Stehphanie. Daniel, meanwhile, had faded into the background of our lives. He'd completed his parenting class as ordered, but his monthly visitations were sporadic at best. He'd show up for a few months, then disappear for 3 or 4, always with excuses: work travel, family emergencies, his car broke down. "He doesn't want to be a father," I told Dr. Simmons. "He just doesn't want to look like the bad guy who abandoned his daughter." "How do you feel about that?" Angry still, but mostly relieved. Every month he doesn't show up is a month I don't have to see him, don't have to relive what he did, don't have to pretend we're co-parenting when we're not. "And Maya? How do you think his absence affects her?" "She doesn't know any different," I said. "She's 2. Her world is me, my mother, her daycare friends. She doesn't ask about her father because she doesn't understand she's supposed to have one." "That will change as she gets older." "I know, and when it does, I'll be honest with her. Age-appropriate honesty, but honesty. I won't lie to protect him." "Good," Dr. Simmons said. "Children can handle truth. They can't handle lies." When Maya was 3, I finished my nurse practitioner program. My mother threw me a graduation party, and I cried when they handed me my diploma. "I'm so proud of you. Look at what you've built from nothing." "Not nothing," I said. "From ashes. There's a difference." I got a job at a family practice clinic in Evanston, making significantly more money than I'd made as an RN. Finally, after 3 years of scraping by, I had financial breathing room. I paid off my student loans, put money in savings, started a college fund for Maya. And for the first time since Daniel left, I felt like I was living instead of just surviving. One evening, when Maya was almost 4, she asked the question I'd been dreading. "Mama, where's my daddy?" We were reading bedtime stories, curled up in her bed. I put down the book and pulled her into my lap. "Your daddy lives in a different house," I said carefully. "He doesn't see us very much." "Why not?" "Because grown-ups sometimes make choices that are hard to understand. But it's not because of you, baby. You are so loved. You have me, and you have your grandma, and so many people who think you're the most special girl in the world." "But I want the daddy," she said, her lip trembling. My heart broke. "I know, sweetheart, and maybe someday your daddy will be more present in your life. But right now, it's just us, and that's okay. We're a good team, aren't we?" "The best team," she agreed, snuggling closer. After she fell asleep, I sat in her room and cried quietly. Not for Daniel, not for the marriage that failed, but for my daughter who deserved a father who showed up and got one who couldn't even manage that. The next day, I called Sandra. "I want to terminate his parental rights," I said. "That's a big step. Are you sure?" "He hasn't seen Maya in 8 months. He's 3 months behind on child support. He doesn't call, doesn't ask about her, doesn't send birthday or Christmas presents. He's a father in name only. I want to make it official." "We can file," Sandra said, "but he'll have to agree or we'll have to prove abandonment. Either way, it's going to cost money and time." "I have both now," I said. "Let's do it." "Okay, but Stehphanie, this means he's completely out of Maya's life, legally, permanently, no chance of reconciliation." "There was never a chance of reconciliation. He abandoned her before she was born. This just makes it official." "Then let's do it," Sandra said. Let's give you and Maya a clean slate. And that's exactly. The petition to terminate Daniel's parental rights was filed in December, just before Maya's 4th birthday. Daniel didn't respond to the initial filing. His lawyer couldn't reach him. The court sent notices to his last known address, Natalie's apartment, but they came back undelivered. "He's disappeared," Sandra told me. "Either he moved and didn't update his information with the court, or he's actively avoiding service." "How is that legal?" I asked. "It's not, but it happens. We'll petition for service by publication. Basically, we'll put a notice in the newspaper, and if he doesn't respond within 30 days, we proceed without him." The notice ran for the required 30 days. Daniel never responded. The hearing was scheduled for February. I showed up with binders of evidence, every missed visit, every late or missing child support payment, every unanswered text and call about Maya's well-being. Daniel didn't show up. The judge reviewed the case with a grim expression. "Miss Reeves, I see here that Mr. Reeves hasn't had contact with his daughter in," she checked the documents, "14 months?" "That's correct, Your Honor. And he's significantly in arrears on child support, over $12,000. The judge shook her head. "This is egregious. Does the petitioner understand that terminating parental rights means losing all contact with the child? No visitation, no decision-making authority, no relationship?" "Yes, Your Honor, that's exactly what I want. My daughter asks about her daddy, and I have nothing to tell her because he doesn't exist in her life. I'd rather she understand he chose not to be her father than spend years wondering why he doesn't show up." "I agree," the judge said. "In cases of clear abandonment like this, termination serves the child's best interest. It provides closure and allows the custodial parent to make decisions without consulting someone who's proven themselves unreliable." She signed the order. "Parental rights terminated. Mr. Reeves is no longer the legal father of this child. Child support obligations are also terminated, though he still owes the outstanding arrears." "Thank you, Your Honor." Walking out of the courthouse, I felt something I hadn't in 4 years. Free. Daniel was gone, not just absent, legally erased from our lives. Maya was mine, completely and entirely mine. I didn't have to consult him about schools or medical decisions or anything. I didn't have to worry about him showing up randomly and disrupting our lives. We were free. That evening, I sat Maya down and told her as much as a 4-year-old could understand. "Remember how you asked about your daddy?" I said. She nodded, suddenly serious. "Well, sometimes grown-ups decide they're not ready to be parents, and your daddy decided that. So it's going to be just you and me and Grandma. Is that okay?" "Will I ever have a daddy?" asked Maya. "Maybe someday," I said honestly. "Maybe I'll meet someone who wants to be part of our family. But right now, it's just us. And we're pretty great, aren't we?" "We're the best," she said, and went back to her toys like we'd been discussing the weather instead of the permanent absence of her father. Children are resilient like that, adaptable in ways adults struggle to be. I, on the other hand, spent that night crying again, not from sadness this time, but from relief so profound it felt physical. I'd done it. I'd survived the betrayal, the divorce, the custody battle, the years of single parenting. I'd protected my daughter, built a career, created a stable life for us. And now, finally, I could stop looking over my shoulder, waiting for Daniel to reappear and disrupt everything we'd built. He was gone. We were free, and the future was ours to create. Life shifted after that in subtle but significant ways. I started dating again, tentatively, cautiously, with clear boundaries. Nothing serious, just coffee dates here and there when my mother could watch Maya. "You need to be open to love again," Dr. Simmons said. "Not everyone is Daniel." I know that intellectually, but emotionally, I'm terrified. Of what? of trusting someone and them betraying me, of bringing someone into Maya's life who might hurt her, of being vulnerable again. Those are valid fears, Dr. Simmons acknowledged, but the alternative is staying closed off forever. Is that what you want? No, I admitted. I want Maya to see healthy relationships. I want her to know that love can be good, that partnership can be real. I want to model something better than what I had with Daniel. So I tried. I went on dates. Some were terrible, some were fine. None turned into anything serious. But I was trying, and that felt like growth. Maya thrived. She started preschool, made friends, showed a personality that was all her own, fierce and funny and fearless in ways I envied. She's going to be something special, my mother said, watching Maya command the attention of every kid on the playground. She already is, I said. When Maya was 5, we moved. Not far, still in Evanston, still close to my mother and my job, but a different house, one we chose together, one with no memories of Daniel. This is our fresh start house, I told Maya as we unpacked boxes. What do you think? I love it, she said, running from room to room. Can I have the room with the big window? Of course. We painted her room purple, her favorite color, set up a reading nook with pillows and fairy lights, made it magical because every child deserves a little magic in their life. That night, after Maya fell asleep in her new room, I sat in the kitchen of our new house and realized something profound. I was happy. Not the desperate happiness of someone trying to convince themselves everything is fine, not the performative happiness of someone hiding their pain. Real happiness, the kind that comes from building a life you're proud of, from knowing you survived the worst and came out stronger. I'd given birth alone in more ways than one. Alone in that hospital room, but also alone in rebuilding my life, alone in creating something new from the ashes of my marriage. And I'd done it. Not perfectly, not without stumbling, but I'd done it. Maya and I were going to be okay, better than okay. We were going to be Maya turned 6, and I threw her a birthday party at the park. 20 kids from her kindergarten class, running around, screaming with joy, high on cake and sunshine. I stood watching her, this magnificent little person I'd created and raised, and felt overwhelming gratitude. She's amazing, a voice said beside me. I turned, a man about my age with kind eyes and a gentle smile, holding the hand of a little boy who looked about Maya's age. Thank you, I said. Is your son in her class? Nephew, he corrected. I'm Ryan. My sister couldn't make it to the party, so I'm on uncle duty. Stehphanie, I said, Maya's mom. I know, she talks about you constantly. My mama says this, my mama does that. You're basically a superhero in her eyes. I laughed. Some days I feel more like a disaster barely holding it together. That's parenting, right? Equal parts magic and chaos. We talked while the kids played. He was a pediatrician, divorced, no kids of his own, but close with his sister's children. Easy to talk to, funny, present, in a way that felt unfamiliar. When the party ended, he helped me clean up without being asked. Loaded garbage bags into my car, broke down tables, wrangled kids back to their parents. You didn't have to do that, I said. I know, but I wanted to. He hesitated. Can I ask you something? Sure. Would you want to get coffee sometime without the chaos of a kid's birthday party? I should have said no, should have protected myself, kept my walls up, stayed safe. But I thought about what Dr. Simmons had said, about being open to love, about modeling healthy relationships for Maya. Yes, I said, I'd like that. We exchanged numbers. He texted that evening. Had a great time at the party. Maya's a lucky kid to have you as her mom. I'm the lucky one, I texted back. She's the best thing that ever happened to me. Over the next few months, Ryan and I dated, slowly, carefully, with clear boundaries and honest conversations. I need you to know, I told him on our third date, I have baggage, a lot of it. My ex-husband cheated on me while I was pregnant, missed our daughter's birth, abandoned us, fought me for custody, and lost. I don't trust easily. I wouldn't expect you to, Ryan said. Trust is earned. I'm willing to earn it. And Maya comes first, always, if you can't handle that. Of course she comes first, he interrupted gently. That's what good parents do, put their kids first. The fact that you're so clear about that tells me everything I need to know about what kind of mother you are. 6 months in, I introduced Ryan to Maya, casually, at a playground, just as Mama's friend Ryan. Maya, being Maya, assessed him within 5 minutes and declared, I like him. He pushes the swing the right amount of high. Ryan laughed, prize praise. She's picky about her swing pushing, I said. Over the next year, Ryan became part of our lives, not replacing Daniel. You can't replace someone who was never really there, but filling a space that had been empty. He came to Maya's school events, helped with homework, taught her to ride a bike, did all the things fathers are supposed to do but hers never had. And he was patient with me, patient when I had bad days, when the memories of Daniel's betrayal came flooding back, patient when I needed space, when I pulled away out of fear, patient when I struggled to believe someone could actually stay. I'm not going anywhere, he'd say whenever I spiraled. I'm here, I'm staying, you're safe. And slowly, I started to believe him. Maya turned 8, and I realized I hadn't thought about Daniel in months. He'd become a footnote in our story, barely relevant to the life we'd built. Do you ever wonder what happened to him? My mother asked one day. Not really, I said honestly. I hope he's okay, I guess, but I don't need to know. He made his choices, I made mine. Our paths don't cross anymore. No regrets? About leaving him? Never. Best decision I ever made. Even though it was hard? Especially because it was hard. The hard things are usually the most worth doing. Ryan proposed on a random Tuesday evening. Nothing fancy, just the 3 of us in our living room after dinner. He got down on one knee in front of both Maya and me. Stehphanie, you're the strongest, most bravest, most incredible woman I've ever met. And Maya, you're smart and funny, and you keep both of us on our toes. I love you both. I want to be part of your family, officially. Will you marry me? Maya jumped up and down, screaming with excitement. Ryan slipped the ring on my finger and kissed me while our daughter cheered. Are you going to be my daddy now? Maya asked. If that's okay with you, he said. It's very okay, she said seriously. I've always wanted a daddy. Later, after Maya went to bed, Ryan and I sat on the couch, his arm around me. Are you sure about this? About taking on someone else's kid? About all the baggage I come with? I'm not taking on someone else's kid. I'm gaining a daughter. And your baggage made you who you are, strong, resilient, protective. I wouldn't change any of it. I rested my head on his shoulder. I never thought I'd get here. After Daniel, I thought I was broken, damaged beyond repair. You were never broken, Ryan said. You were hurt. There's a difference. Broken things can't heal. Hurt things can. And have I healed? You're healing, he corrected. We're all the time. That's what life is, constant healing and growth. I thought about that, about the woman I'd been in that hospital bed 8 years ago, screaming alone while Daniel chose someone else, about everything I'd survived and overcome and built. Yeah, I said, I guess I have healed. We both have. And for the first time since Daniel left, I believed in happy endings again. Not because life was perfect, it wasn't, but because I'd learned that happiness wasn't about perfection. It was about choosing yourself, choosing your child, choosing to rebuild when everything falls apart, and then, when you're ready, choosing to let someone good love you the way you deserved all. So that's my story. the story of how I gave birth alone and learned that sometimes being abandoned is the greatest gift you never asked for. I won't lie to you, it was the hardest thing I've ever been through. Giving birth without your partner is traumatic. Discovering betrayal at your most vulnerable moment is devastating. Single parenting is exhausting in ways nothing prepares you for. But here's what I learned. You are stronger than you know. When I was in that hospital bed, screaming alone, I didn't think I'd survive it. But I did. And not only did I survive, I thrived. Your worth is not determined by someone else's ability to see it. Daniel couldn't see my value, couldn't appreciate what I brought to his life, but that was his failure, not mine. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you is actually the best thing. If Daniel had been faithful, if he'd shown up for Maya's birth, I'd still be trapped in a marriage with a man who didn't love me. I'd be teaching my daughter that mediocre love is enough, that betrayal should be tolerated. Instead, I'm teaching her that she deserves respect, that she should never settle, that walking away from something broken isn't failure, it's courage. And I learned that family is what you make it. For years, I thought Maya needed a father. I felt guilty that I couldn't give her that. But we built something better, a life full of love and support and people who show up. Ryan didn't complete our family. We were already complete. He enhanced it. There's a difference. If you're going through something similar, if you've been betrayed, abandoned, left to handle life alone, I want you to know, you will survive this. Not just survive, you will rise from it stronger than you were before. The person who left doesn't define you. How you rebuild does. Your children will be okay, better than okay, if you model strength and resilience and self-respect. Maya doesn't remember those early years when Daniel was absent, but she'll remember that her mother never gave up, that she fought for her, that she built a life worth living. And one day, when you're ready, you might find love again. Real love. The kind that shows up, the kind that stays, the kind you deserved all along. But even if you don't, you're enough. You and your babies, whatever family you've created, you're enough. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever given birth or experienced a major life event alone because someone didn't show up? Have you ever discovered betrayal at your most vulnerable moment? How did you survive it? How did you rebuild? Share your stories in the comments. Let's remind each other that we're not alone even when we feel most abandoned. And if this story helped you, if it gave you hope or strength, or just the reminder that you're not the only one who's been through this, hit that like button. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it, someone who's struggling to leave, someone who's newly single and scared, someone who needs to know they're going to be okay. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. We're building a community of survivors here, people who've been through the fire and came out stronger. Your stories matter. Your strength matters. What should I talk about next? What struggles are you facing? What stories do you need to hear? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of the Voices of Stehphanie family. Remember, the person who abandoned you did you a favor. They removed themselves from your life so you could make room for something better. They showed you who they really were. Believe them, and then move forward. Build something beautiful. Raise your babies. Find yourself again. Because you're not defined by what was done to you. You're defined by how you rise from it. And baby, you're going to rise. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Hold your babies close. And remember that sometimes the hardest thing you go through becomes the thing that makes you unstoppable. This is Stehphanie, signing off, but never giving up. And neither